What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Have At It. This is episode 108. My name is Ben Cornett, and you're watching this live on my YouTube channel, Ben Cornett 9015, as well as on Facebook and in the Ben Zone. How is everybody doing tonight? Happy Thanksgiving Eve. We all know tomorrow it is Thanksgiving in the States. So yeah, let's on the screen on the bottom it's saying I'm back. Yes, I am back. It has been a while since I've done this show. Just been very, very busy. Haven't had the time to get on and do a show for more than, let's say, a few minutes. I do like little, shows like, Ben's Quick Picks every Wednesday. I hadn't done one yet for today. I'll do one later on tonight or tomorrow morning before the games start. But that's really all the time I got because, again, been very busy doing a lot of stuff, work and other stuff in life in general. So, now that I got more time, hopefully I can get back on track. I mean, hell, I even don't even have time to go get a haircut. That's how busy I've been lately. So you can see the hair's growing out. I might keep it though. I've don't mind doing long hair every once in a while, but we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. But anyway, um, I am back, and a lot of stuff has gone on. We've had quite the year in the NFL, college football. The NBA just started right before I left. took a leave of absence, not on purpose, but a lot of things have gone on. The NBA has started. My Dodgers won the World Series again, back to back. That was great. Um, so hockey's back. So a lot of things going on, man, that I haven't been able to talk about here. But as you can see, we got some comments in the section already. This is nice. Johnny Dean, thank you for joining. Says, "Sup, Ben? How you doing, Johnny, tonight? Out in Pittsburgh?" And he says, "Let's go." Yeah, absolutely. Let's go. Yeah, I don't know where to begin because again, it's been a long time since I've been on here. But we'll talk some NFL. In general, we're getting down to the last month of the season. Uh, Tomorrow starts with 3 games, the typical Thanksgiving tradition. As far as the first game goes, um, Packers and Lions. I've got a comment here from my friend Devin from work. He says Ty Lue is the best coach of all time. Anyway, we're gonna go to the Packers and Lions. This should be quite a game. Both teams right in the thick of things in the NFC North. Now, you would think that one of these two teams are in first place, but that's not it. It's actually the Chicago Bears. They're in first place. And Detroit and Green Bay are playing catch up. And this is going to be quite a game. Now, the first game of the season, first week in week 1, Green Bay absolutely demolished Detroit. And it's funny because at the time, Micah Parsons just got traded there. And one of the things that, people were talking about was, wow, look at the Packers. And then that Thursday night game against the Commanders, I believe it was 2-0. And all of a sudden you're thinking, oh my God, this is a Super Bowl type team. I didn't say that, but I heard a lot of fans were like, uh-oh, watch out. But no, they're like 6-3-1 right now. But it's not really a great 6-3-1 record. Records can be a little deceiving. It seems like Green Bay, they're getting Josh Jacobs back, which is the good news. The running game is going to help with that. But I don't see them as a Super Bowl contender. Not right now, I don't. Looking at the eye test, I don't see Green Bay as a Super Bowl team. I don't. Because of the quarterback play. Jordan Love hasn't been great. Did pretty good this week against Minnesota, but I haven't seen anything consistent out of him all year long. And if this team's going to think about winning in January, he needs to play better. A lot of times he just, makes some questionable decisions with the football. He has a good offensive line. He has a running game. He has receivers. So, and I get that Tucker Kraft's out for the year, but that doesn't mean this team, still isn't capable. The quarterback position is important. And for Jordan Love, he has to play his best football starting now. He has to get it going, plain and simple. And if Green Bay wants to advance in the postseason, he's vital to that team's, chances to go. The defense can only do so much. So it starts tomorrow. They play Detroit, a team that's, been, let's say, up and down the whole year. But what I like about this game is, both teams are going to show up because they know how important this game is. And I think the winner of this game is going to have a lot of momentum headed in, down the stretch. So to me, the keys of the game is for the Packers, Jordan Love's got to play well. And the key for the Lions is Jared Goff, he has to do the same. He has to play better. I've noticed the last couple of weeks he hasn't really done that well. Struggled a little bit against the Giants. I'm trying to think who they played the week before. I forget who it was, but didn't play his best football. Luckily, they were able to pull out the win against the Giants in overtime. And, this is going to be quite a game tomorrow. I think whichever quarterback plays well, because both defenses are really good. but which quarterback plays well is going to win the game. That's my take on it. I'm not going to pick a winner right now. I'm just going to say whoever plays well tomorrow, quarterback-wise, should win the game. All right. We got Johnny in the house saying the middle game will be the best, and that's what we're going to talk about now. Before we do that, he's got another comment saying Lions may not make the playoffs at all. Chicago will win the division. Which team has the roughest remaining schedule? I'd have to look at the schedules, but I know that the Lions still play the Bears. I believe it's the last game of the year. Green Bay has Chicago, I believe, in a couple weeks, either this week or either next week or the week after. So that'll determine a lot where things will head. But the Bears could win that division. They're looking very good right now. So it's going to be very exciting to see what they do on Black Friday against the Philadelphia Eagles. That's going to be a real test. And listen, I could see the Bears going in there and winning. I'm not impressed with Philadelphia. I mean, Jalen Hurts has not played great, in my opinion. They're getting by because of the defense and that championship experience that they have. Although last week, speaking of the middle game, the Cowboys came back from 21 down to win that game. Philly, it seemed like they took their foot off the gas. They didn't run the ball enough. So it'll be an interesting game for Chicago and Philly. But yeah, Dallas against the Chiefs. This is going to be a very interesting game because you would think, KC with that big win over the Colts, they're back. I don't know they are. I don't know if they are or not because I felt like the Colts, and I watched that game too. The Colts had that game won. They stopped running the ball. Jonathan Taylor did not get enough touches late in that game. The play calling was very questionable, and they let the Chiefs back in. So, to me, I wasn't really impressed with KC, and I got to see more out of them. In Dallas right now, they're playing with a lot of emotion. Obviously, these last few weeks have been emotional, losing their teammate Kirkland. Very tragic what happened. Rest in peace to him. So they're playing with a lot right now, but they're 2-0, after the bye week, beat the Raiders, they beat Philly. They got momentum going. Now they're playing the Chiefs coming to Big D, and this could be a very, very interesting matchup. Again, Dak Prescott playing good football right now. They can just get that running game going. They could really make a run. And the Chiefs, again, defensively they've not been the same. They're older. Chris Jones not as quick to get to the quarterback as he used to be, and you could just tell that this team could just be the end of their run. And I think if they don't win this game against the Cowboys, I think they miss the playoffs. This is a must-win for the Chiefs, but it's also a must-win for Dallas because they're 5-1 right now, and they can't have any setbacks. These next two games are going to be critical for Dallas. Excuse me. They got Kansas City this Thursday, and they got Detroit, I believe, the following Thursday. Huge games. So these next two games for Dallas are critical if they want to make the playoffs. And if they win both those games, they have a very good shot at it. That wild card positioning should be really, really tight down the stretch, especially, that one tie, with Green Bay. That could really play in to, who ends up getting into the postseason. Then you have to go through like common opponents, stuff like that, all these different tiebreakers and scenarios. So right now it's one game at a time, and both Dallas and KC have to treat it like it's a playoff game, win in advance. So this should be a good game. I do agree with Johnny. I think this probably might be the best game of the Thanksgiving. So Let's see. Johnny says Philly's a mess in their locker room. Yeah. It kind of reminds you of 2023. We all remember when Philly had that hot start and then it just collapsed right in front of them. And, we could be seeing the same thing here. And again, Jalen Hurts hasn't played his best football. AJ Brown's complaining. Um, no matter how talented you are, how great you are, if you have those distractions, you're not going to win. That could really affect, like Johnny said, a locker room. So Philly's got to snap out of it. I don't know who they're playing this. Oh yeah, playing the Bears tomorrow, or Friday, I should say. They're playing the Bears. So the Bears they're ready. They got momentum right now, and Philly's going to have to play their best football if they're going to beat Chicago this weekend. And for Chicago, this is a huge, huge game. They can win this game. They've put themselves on the map. And, Ben Johnson's done a really good job after the first few weeks, and it's, the first few weeks wasn't great, but it was a new head coach, new scheme, takes time, and Chicago's figuring it out. They're running the ball, which is really key. You don't want Caleb to throw the ball more than 30 times a game. If he has to do that, then you're not going to win many games. Make sure you balance your offense, run game, passing game, let it play out. And that's what the Bears have done. They've put Caleb Williams in a good position. They're not, they're not forcing him to, have to carry the team. No quarterback should have to go through that. And, Chicago's done a very good job of that. And this is the litmus test for did I say that right? The litmus test for Chicago this week to go into Philly. They get that win, man. Watch out. They'll win that division and have a lot of momentum going into the postseason. So Johnny says Dallas has to prove it in the playoffs. We've seen them play well in the regular season. I don't doubt their ability to get there. I have to see them win something in the playoffs. In other words, they need to at least get to the Super Bowl to prove that they're not the same old cowgirls. Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, can they? Can that team get over it? Get over that hump. Right now they're looking good, but if they get to the playoffs, it's a whole different game. They've had chances year after year after year and just haven't, quite figured it out. Whether it's, bad play from the quarterback or anybody else defensively, whatever it is, coaching, whatever it is, they have to get over that hump. So if Dallas does get there, who knows? They're only going to go as far as, Dak and that offense goes, as well as their defense. Oh man. So the night game, my good friend Devin is a Ravens fan. They've been on a roll lately. Defensively, they've been looking really good. Offensively is a different story. Not looking as good. Obviously, Lamar's still dealing with an ankle injury. They're going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals. They're welcoming back Joe Burrow. He is back with the Cincinnati Bengals. Supposedly he's playing. How do I feel about that? You ask. I don't know. You're 3-8. The Bengals are 3-8. If they win their last 6 games, that's only 9-8. Is that going to make the playoffs as a wild card? I don't know. And the thing is, right now, yes, they're only technically, I believe, 2 games back because Baltimore's 6-5 or 3 games back. But you got to play Baltimore twice. I think it's 2 times in 3 weeks. That's not going to be easy. Their schedule's not easy. I'll look at it again. Look at their schedule. Hold on one second. So they got Baltimore tomorrow night. Then they play the Bills the following Sunday. Then they play the Ravens. Then they got the Dolphins. Now they got the final 3 games against the Dolphins, Cardinals, and Browns. But again, you know, I really don't see Cincinnati doing anything with or without Joe Burrow. I think it's too little, too late. 3-8. I don't see them beating Baltimore tomorrow night. Although the offense does worry me with Baltimore right now, but defensively they've been really good. They've been really good. Now, Kyle Hamilton got hurt in that game. I don't know if he's going to be available or not. I don't see them winning, the Bengals, that is. So, and Johnny even says here, Joe Burrow without Higgins is still handicapped. Ravens defense is now firing all cylinders as well. Henry can carry the Ravens through Cincy's defense, yeah. And even Derrick Henry hasn't played his best football lately. So, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I would pick the Ravens to win this game tomorrow night. It's a division game, so it'll be close for a little bit. But again, I just don't think it's going to be enough. And I think did Jamar Chase, did he serve that suspension already? Or because no, he already did, because the Pittsburgh game was 2 weeks ago, so they'll get him back. But again, without Higgins and defensively, they don't have their best pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson. I like Baltimore in this game. So give me the Ravens in that one. Now, we talked about the Bears and Eagles already, Black Friday. That'll be fun. See, Henry has 4 touchdowns his last 2 games alone. Yeah. But again, you'd like to see more out of Derrick Henry. I believe a couple of those touchdowns were at the goal line. So, he hasn't really had as much impact on that offense as, he would have, last year with the Ravens. So, but again, he's still Derrick Henry. He's still going to, be a force that the Bengals are going to have to deal with. So we'll see how it plays out. We'll might as well just talk about my Bucks now. The last few weeks, after the Saints game, we had the bye week. Then we've lost 3 in a row. Obviously, the injuries have impacted us. And, defensively, we haven't been good. We haven't been good at all. Special teams has been terrible. Last game against the Rams, it wasn't so bad, but the previous 2 games wasn't great. Looking at this team right now, Baker, now he had that shoulder injury before halftime. Now, the best case scenario was he didn't suffer any major damage or anything like that, and that he today, as we're speaking right now, was a non-participant in practice, but his game status is still up in the air. Teddy Bridgewater did take the first team reps. And then we're getting Bucky back. He, had a full practice today, so that's good. And, that's really going to help our offense out. We just got Godwin back last week, kind of put him on a snap count. So, Bucky's going to ignite that offense. And Rachaad White didn't do bad. Sean Tucker did really good in the time he got. And I hope that Sean Tucker I still hope he gets some carries, because he's been playing really well. You really want to be able to use all 3 of these running backs. Sure, Bucky's going to get the majority of the carries. Rachaad White's going to get some carries. But I do want to see Sean Tucker involved in this offense as well. There's nothing wrong with having 3 running backs. With these 3 out there healthy, it's only going to help our offense. It's going to help Baker. It's going to help our offensive line, despite the injuries. But my worry is the defense. Again, we're not getting a pass rush, just one sack in the game. And that was Diaby. We need that pass rush. We need to get something because right now our corners are getting burned out there. McCollum was getting burned in the game Sunday night. Jamel Dean's out. Benjamin Morrison didn't play. Jacob Parrish, is playing okay. He's playing pretty good, but he could only do so much. Antoine Winfield, after that great game against the Saints, he's pretty much disappeared. So we haven't seen him lately. But again, without a consistent pass rush, you're putting your defensive backs in a vulnerable position. So, the linebackers, same thing you're doing with the linebackers. You're putting Levante in a tough spot. He had to chase down the tight end for the Rams for a touchdown. That's not what you want to see Levante do. So I'm hoping that, Hassan Reddick gets back. We're hoping that, Braswell can do something, that Logan Hall can do something. It's a lot to ask because, again, these guys haven't done well. But if this team's going to generate, turnovers, if they're going to get to the quarterback, they need a consistent pass rush. And that's something we haven't seen. That's one of the reasons why the Buccaneers have lost these 3 games. They're giving too much time to Drake May, to Josh Allen, to Matt Stafford in the pocket. And the last thing you want to do with those guys, especially the last 2, Stafford and Josh Allen, is give them time in the pocket, because they'll carve you up. And that's what they did. That's exactly what they did to the Bucs. Now this week they're playing Jacoby Brissett, for Arizona. Now, Jacoby's not a bad backup. He's had over 1,000 yards his last 3 games passing. So again, if we can get to the quarterback, constant pressure, all day, make Jacoby uncomfortable in the pocket because, again, they don't have a lot of weapons, and the offensive line for Arizona is not nearly as good as the Bucs. We should be fine. We shouldn't have to score 30 points to win a game. Even Todd Bowles said it after the Bills game. He said, he thinks 30 points, we should be winning games, not losing them. So that's the key goal this week for the Bucs, to get back defensively, and I think they will. I think they know last week was disastrous. Players were not in the right position. They weren't ready for this game. If there's one criticism I'll give Todd Bowles is that he probably didn't have his team prepared for that game. But other than that, that's the only criticism I'll make for Todd. Maybe he probably didn't have these guys prepared. So this week I think he will, and this team will respond. Johnny says Casey Rogers was the biggest loss the Bucs had this season. No one talks about the defensive line this year, but with Cohen taking Rogers and Haney, it's really hurt our team. That's a big part of it, because you have that experience, that chemistry that, really, makes a team really good, defensively. And unfortunately, again, losing those guys, that's a big deal. It really is. The pass rush isn't as bad as the run stopping. Our defense line has been screwed. Charlie Strong is not the right guy to run our defensive line. Yeah, again, you got new guys in that spot. Josh Grizzard is the new offensive coordinator. People are giving him shit because he's not calling the right plays. Well, listen, he doesn't have all his pieces. Imagine if he had all his guys healthy. In the offensive line, he's had to switch guys, switch them up because he had so many injuries. So yeah, I hear what you're saying, Johnny, about Charlie Strong, but again, he's new to this, and you know, it's tough. Like you said, losing Casey Rogers was huge. It takes time, but we are getting late in the season now. We gotta can't believe I'm saying this. We got a fight on our hands with Carolina. Thank goodness they lost to the 49ers this week. Um, but this week we should be back on track. Tampa Bay Rays fan 2008. Thanks for tuning in, Tampa Bay Rays fan. How you doing? It says Rams are too good of a team, best team in the NFC. Right now, absolutely. I mean, they look like a Super Bowl contender, both offensively and defensively. All facets of the game. They are just really good, well coached. We know that with Sean McVay. He's that dude. And, Stafford, I mean, he's like 37 and he's just playing some of his best football. I mean, Puka, Devontae Adams. I mean, that was a big addition to that team. We knew Devontae's a good receiver, but it just seems like he's got that step back in his game. It seemed like the last couple years, Devontae's just not been in love with the game. He's been on losing teams, been in losing situations, losing cultures. Look, the Raiders and the Jets. I mean, that'll hurt anybody, confidence wise. But now he's with the Rams, and it's a well-oiled machine that's just, just moving along. Not moving, they're just steamrolling people right now. And I don't know how you're going to stop this team. I mean, last year, think about it. They were the only team in the postseason to give Philly any kind of trouble and probably should have won that game. You could argue they could have won the game this year. If that field goal didn't get blocked in Philly earlier in the year, Rams, who knows? They could be undefeated. I mean, they are a very good football team. So I don't know. We'll see how it plays out with them. They play Carolina this week, so and I like them against Carolina. They're just. I know it's a cross country trip, but the Rams should win that game. Corey King Brown, what did I miss? Watching Stranger Things season 5 came out today. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I'm probably gonna watch it this weekend because tonight I have a little tradition. The night before Thanksgiving, I watched Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So I'm watching that. And then tomorrow we got football going on all day, all night, basketball as well. So, and then college football's been really good. We're getting down to the final weekend of the season. These guys right here, Florida State Seminoles, suck. Can't believe they kept Norvell. Well, I know why they kept Norvell, but I get it, but still not a fan of it. But anyway, I'll catch up with Stranger Things probably this weekend. So, and I can't wait. And it's the last season. I'm really excited. 4 episodes, and then the next 3 are going to drop Christmas Day, and then the final episode will be New Year's Eve. So, cannot wait to dig into that one, Corey. Tampa Bay Rays fan, 2000. Also, Spytek to the Raiders hurt too. Yeah, I did. That was Jason Light's go-to guy. Did a really good job scouting. Now he's in Vegas. I hope he does well, but that organization just it's ownership, Mark Davis, and Spytek can only do so much. If you got an owner that gets in the way, then makes your job tough. Hopefully for once Mark Davis can kind of get his pumpkin pie haircutted ass out of the way and let Spytek do his thing. That's what good ownership does. Now I remember for a while there, the Glazers were kind of butting their way into things back in the 2010s. Well, what happens? Bruce Arians comes to town, says, no. Like, let me do my job. Let Jason Light do his job. And the Glazers like, okay. Haven't butted in ever since. and the Buccaneers have been better for it. So Mark Davis needs to do the same thing. Just stay out of the freaking way, own the team, let your front office do their thing, and everything should be fine. Tracy's binging Stranger Things right now. Yeah, cool. Like it. Say hi to Tracy for me, Johnny. And Broussard play calling is limited due to the quarterback who has trouble throwing over the top. If it isn't Evans, yeah, that's part of it. But also, again, like I said, Tampa Bay Rays fan. That not having Evans, it's just a killer. It sucks. It really does. But not having Chris Godwin out there, not having Bucky the last few games, takes a lot of steam out of you, But then again, you have to adjust, and Josh, I think's done pretty decent so far. Has he been perfect? No, but again, he's new on the job, But I guess the good news is he's probably not going to get any coaching considerations this year from other teams, so we might actually keep our coordinator next year. That'd be a first, right? Like, Baker can't make Baker Mayfield can make everybody a head coach, I guess. So, yeah, Jacksonville's doing all right. They're winning ugly, but not in a good way. Denver's winning ugly, but in a good way because they have a great defense. Jacksonville doesn't. They almost lost to Arizona. Probably should have. That game actually went to overtime too. So I'm still not impressed with Jacksonville. I'm not. I mean, they got a big game. Who do they play this week? Tennessee. That might be a trap game. Tennessee's starting to pick it up a little bit lately. They're getting better. I'm not picking an upset, but I could see Jacksonville tripping up to the Titans. And this is their third straight road game too. So, that's a lot of, games on the road, could it catch up to him? Trevor Lawrence needs to play better, man. He really does. I've never been impressed with the guy, but Jacksonville again, they're winning ugly, but not in a good way. Denver is winning ugly in a good way because of their defense. Corey says Pete Carroll will be fired one season, too old to rebuild. Yeah, I mean, who knows? And he looks like he might not want to be there anymore. He might call it quits, But I don't know. Pete's a very confident guy. He may, for pride purposes, may want to come back next year. But it's a decision that the front office is going to have to make. Now he's signed, I think, like a 3-year deal, so 3 or 4-year deal. So we'll see how that plays out. But it's not looking good right now. You're 2-9, no direction. I mean, you lost to Cleveland last week at home here in Vegas. You lost to Shedeur Sanders. I don't know. I mean, now you got to play the Chargers, who's coming off a bye, who really want to get that bad Jaguar taste out of their mouths because they got annihilated. And again, that's another team, the Chargers. I don't know what they are. I mean, some weeks they look good. Some weeks they're just inconsistent. And, Justin Herbert's not playing his best football right now. So who knows? And it's a division game. It could be close. And the Chargers really need this game. If they want to stay in the – because I want to say they're like 3 games back of Denver right now. If they want to stay in that race, they got to start winning. And Denver has Washington Sunday night, I believe. So that should be an interesting game. Let's see. Try to read these. Johnny says, it's Brady making those decisions now. He's making some of them, not all of them, but some of them. He's working with Spytech in the limited capacity that he has. We know Tom's off, doing play-by-play for Fox. working with Birmingham City Football Club. He's got his own stuff going on, so he's got some involvement, but not as much as you think. Corey says Buka and Jalen McMillan, future wide receiver, replace Evans and Godwin. Well, Buka, yeah. Now McMillan, we'll see. He's getting healthier. He doesn't have the neck brace on anymore. We don't know if he's back yet or not. Time will tell, but I don't know if you can replace a Mike Evans no, you can't, because Evans is a once in a generational wide receiver. Let's just call it like it is. You don't replace guys like that. You hope that these guys can be good wide receivers that will, help a team win. But you're never going to replace a Mike Evans. That's impossible. I mean, unless you could find another 6'6" guy in the draft. It's not very easy to do. Not a lot of Mike Evans grow on trees. They just don't. So, when Jason Light drafted him, that was probably his best draft pick he ever made. You could argue that Vita Vea was his other best draft pick. I mean, but Mike, not only was he the best draft pick, but the first draft pick of Jason Light, and you just don't replace those guys. It's going to be a real shame when he, either retires or he possibly leaves for another team. But I don't know. I can't see Mike Evans in another uniform other than the Bucs. So that's just my opinion. Could be wrong, but you never know. Tampa Bay Rays fan. One guy who should be fired as a special teams coordinator, covers his hot cook. Yeah. It should be. It's not good. It's not good. He what's his name? Help me out here. McGaughey. Thomas McGaughey. I think, what, Todd Bowles might look into that next year. I think he will. He's made some changes before. So, yeah, and that's up to Todd. If he feels like it needs to be changed, then, which I think it should be, Todd may look into that next year. Say, you know what, we got to make these changes. Corey, Ibuka's not an Evans, neither is Jalen. Completely different types of players. Bucs need to find another 50-50 ball guy to replace him. Ibuka is a Godwin type guy. Jalen is a 3. Yeah. Yeah, and again, Johnny, that's how do you replace a Mike Evans? You can get a 50-50 ball. You can get somebody like that, but can you do what Evans can do? Mike is one of those guys, he's receivers that's, I think what some fans don't know is he's such a good blocking wide receiver too. I mean, the guy could play a linebacker almost. I'm not saying he is one, but he can block, and he does all these little things that kind of get unnoticed because he does so many of the other things he should do as a wide receiver so well. So when you see him block like that, it just adds to how great a player he is. So if you're going to find somebody like a Mike Evans, it's not just the 50-50 balls, the height, the athleticism, but the little things that he does too. Blocking other defensive players to get his guys open, whether it's Bucky in the open field or Rashad White or Sean Tucker, or, the route runners, Godwin and Ibuka. Mike, creates that space for him, blocking. So those are the intangibles that we don't really see out of other receivers. So that's what makes Mike special. Tampa Bay Rays fan. They need to find a replacement for Evans in the draft. Young, tall receivers don't have to be Evans, but just be like Vincent Jackson. Yeah. I mean, like I said, again, if you can find guys that can, you know, do like a VJax can do, the 50-50 balls, the route running, you know, that'd be great. That would really help this team out. Then, you have threats from different type of receivers. You got uh Meke's, route running, and whoever the new receiver is, the Bucks draft, if they do that next year or the year after, or whenever after Evans leaves or retires, he does the 50-50 balls, blocking in the open field, wins his one-on-ones. That would be great. That really would. And Corey says fired medical training staff for the Bucks. Ah, yeah, I've heard that argument for years now. I really have. Um, but it's funny because a lot of teams have had like the same amount of injuries too. But I don't hear a lot of the fans saying fire the medical team staff. If you really think about it, if you look at the numbers, and I did some research last year, the Bucks, I believe, were not even in the top 10 in most players out with injuries. So for the most part, the Bucks have been, compared to other teams, have been pretty healthy. This year's just been a bad break. I mean, Evans been out twice, Godwin out twice, and Bucky, it's a string of bad luck. It happens. Injuries happen. And, I know the common saying in Tampa has been, well, the medical staff, all the weather and, all this stuff. I mean, again, it happens. And the Bucks, for the most part, have been one of the more healthier teams in the NFL. Maybe not this year, but in years past, they've been pretty healthy, for the most part. So I don't really buy that argument too much. Rondé Barber should be a cornerback coach for the Bucks. I don't really see Rondé as a coach or a coordinator. I think he likes what he's doing now. He's, does radio, I believe. Does stuff in the Tampa Bay area. He likes what he's doing. So, but who knows? You never know. You're right, Ben Cornett. You can't really replace Evans' team's game plan for him. Yeah, and that's just speaks to what a great player Mike Evans is. Not just wide receiver, great player overall. It's just everything he does. Tall wide receiver Brazil from Tennessee, Roberts from BYU, or Robinson from FSU will be available in the draft. Yeah, they could look at a Deuce Robinson. Brazil's really good, really talented. Yeah, I mean they got some players. It just depends. I mean, how good are they going to do in the NFL? Remains to be seen. It's a crapshoot. You just never know. But yeah, I mean, wouldn't hurt to look at those guys. Look at them in the second or third round. I mean, I think the top priority for the Bucks draft wise has to be linebacker, inside linebacker. Probably could use another defensive tackle. I'm not in love with Logan Hall. I'm just not. They may have to look there as well. I would like to maybe go at a tight end, look at a tight end perhaps, because not like Cade Otton, but I just don't think he does enough for this team. You need somebody that's going to be more of a, of a threat offensively. Is Cade Otton really, is he really a threat? I mean, he's a good catching tight end, but can't block. So I don't know. It's something I would look into. Who is Rondé Barber? Corey didn't spell it right. It's Rhonda. It's with an E. But forgive Corey. Come on. Uh, Otton could be replaced, but here's the problem: the tight end position is weak. Yeah, no, I'm not saying replace him, but I would still look at a tight end in the draft. Tampa Bay Rays fan, get another tight end, who can not only catch the football, be a threat to the offense, but also block, on screenplays, block on running plays, have that extra man at the line. Originally that's what tight ends do. So, Cade is he's a nice player, a good tight end, but not somebody that can be a threat in the offense. And we need that. We need that in our offense. If Mike Evans retire, future Bucks build a statue Evans from RJS. I could see that. I could see that. Yeah. I mean, he's no doubt a Hall of Famer. Um, be in the Ring of Honor in no time. Statue, I don't know. They've never done a statue for anybody. I mean, if they would have done a statue, it probably would have been for like a Derek Brooks or or Warren Sapp, somebody like that. Tampa Bay Rays fan, 2008. I will look at a center in the draft to develop in the draft. Okay, yeah. You're saying that for an insurance policy for Barton? Yeah. Yeah, I would say Graham's more of, he's more of a left tackle, right tackle player. Center's the most important position in football on the line. You got to have that chemistry. And Barton, he's been solid, but he could be better. But again, it takes time, man. It takes years to develop for an offensive lineman, especially in the NFL, where the speed is even quicker. You just can't do it overnight. This is Barton's second season. He's getting there. But yeah, it never hurts to have depth on the offensive line for sure. But again, with the center position, yeah, that's tough because then it's going to be somebody under Baker, a different person under Baker Mayfield, and the center to quarterback is just so vital. I mean, it really is. It takes time. I mean, it took time for Brady and Ryan Jensen, and Jensen was already a very good center. But that's just so vital. And do you want to replace the Barton at center now with somebody else? That's tough. I don't know. I think you got to give it more time. And I think Baker's fine with Graham Barton. And Barton's a very unique lineman. He played for all 5 positions. I do think naturally he is a better tackle, but right now he's the center, and we got to give him time to develop there. But would I be against him looking into it? No, but I would still keep Barton there for now. Johnny says, need 2 more tight ends that can do what tight ends should do. Then we could run a 12-man offense like the Rams. Save our wide receivers and running back snaps to be able to run multiple fronts. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, where'd you get that 12th man, though? Maybe they are cheating. Maybe they do have a 12th man. The referees aren't seeing it. Shame on those refs. At Duke, he was a tackle and offensive guard mostly. Yeah. Yeah, and he did play center, I think, in high school too, if I remember correctly. So Graham's he's a multi-talented lineman. But I do agree he's more of a tackle than anything else. That's his best, position. Hainsey took time to develop at center. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the most vital position because they have the ball more than anybody. They have to snap it to the quarterback. You got to know the plays, the cadence, the hard count. those things are just they're very hard to develop the timing. That's the most important thing. Johnny says, haha, it's called a 12-man formation, Ben Cornett, not actually 12 players. Yeah. I don't know. Seems like the Rams have 15 players on offense at a time. I mean, especially against us, Oh, man. We are about an hour into this episode. I didn't think I'd be on this long, but thank you for everybody for tuning in. Johnny, Tampa Bay Rays fan. Thank you for keeping it going here. It's been a lot of fun tonight. It's been good to get back on this. I've had to, it's like being on IR, like IR away from, podcasting. I was on the IR for like 6 weeks, and now I'm just getting my groove back. It's gonna take some time, but hopefully I can get it going again. I'm really trying to get to do more shows here. I know the holiday season's coming up, so it's going to be a little busy as well. But I will try and get on here as much as I can. It's just, again, scheduling wise, made it a little difficult. But I'm here tonight, so that's the most important thing. So I thank everybody for their patience, and I really do. Tampa Bay Race fan says, I've seen your FSU run. You're right about Norvell. It's time for a change. FSU looked like Miami a decade ago. Yeah, I mean, it's not getting better. Mike's never been good at recruiting. He's been too NIL dependent. It worked for 1 year in 2023. Recruiting's still a big part of the college football game. I know it's a different world now. The NIL, the portal, it's almost like the NFL free agency. But even before all that, when Norvell got there in 2020, he hasn't had the best recruiting classes. And the team he had in 2023 that went to probably should have been in the college football playoff. He had a lot of guys that were holdovers from Willie Taggart, Jordan Travis, guys like that. Mike has really never recruited players that have developed into great players for Norvell. He hasn't. And to me, you take that 2023 season away, he hasn't been good. He just hasn't, And I could tell you exactly why they didn't get rid of him. I'll give you 58 million reasons why they didn't get rid of him. That's the bottom line. You also put 260 million in the stadium renovations. You put 60 million in the practice facility. Florida State, they're broke right now. And boosters can only bring up so much money. They don't have that SEC money. And that's another thing. The lawsuit with the ACC, all this shit going on the last couple years hasn't been good. Yeah, we had that big win against Alabama, and I even said, hold on, let's calm down a little bit. Let's calm down. Let's see how Florida State does. But everybody's like, oh my God, we're 3-0, and then the bottom fell out. So the Stanford game was the one that pretty much told me he's got to hit the road. So, and I really think another thing too, I think the college football playoff snub, I think it ruined him. I think it mentally destroyed him, destroyed his confidence. He hasn't been the same coach since. You can't have that as a head coach. You got to have better leadership than that. And Norvell and the players haven't responded to him. But again, he's back next year. We'll see how it plays out. That's all we can do. This was a great show. Now shut up, Ben Cornett. No, I will not, Johnny, but I do appreciate you telling me to shut up. I love it. What is your take on the hockey season so far? The Golden Knights, we've been pretty good, considering that we've had Mark Stone out, Aiden Hill's been out. Um, you know, we've gotten by. A lot of losses in overtime. Um, Mitch Marner's been a very good free agent for us. I'm happy we got him. And man, as Toronto, boy, have they just fallen down. The, you know, I mean, losing Mitch Marner was huge. Now I know that in Toronto, he was really the scapegoat there. He was really the guy to be blamed for. But I'll tell you this, I mean, that team looks a lot slower now. And it's a shame because Greg Berube I think he's a very good coach. And that whole organization's a mess. Austin Matthews is not I don't care how great a player he is. He's just not a leader. Tavares, surprisingly, he's been decent. With that, I guess he's trying to look for another payday. That seems to be the only time he wants to play good is when he's kind of forced to. So, but I'm glad we got Mitch Marner. I've always liked him. One of the better scorers in the league. Very fast. And I gotta tell you, I think getting away from Toronto, because that's where he's from. He played in his hometown. I think the pressure's off him now. He can just go out and play. He's got Jack Eichel with him. And those two are very good. And I think it takes a lot of pressure off him. And it's shown so far. So, now the Golden Knights, their third and fourth lines got to be a little better. They got to be able to finish games better. Defensively, they lag at times. They go through these spells where, they get the puck past them too much, past their defensemen, and they just leave too much space at times, on the power play. So they got to get better at that. But, other than that, I mean, this team should, once they get healthy and the season goes on, they're going to be one of the better teams in the NHL and into the postseason. Now, do I think they'll win the Stanley Cup? I don't know. Again, that's what makes hockey so much fun is you just don't know every year. We'll see how it plays out. Penguins are still a mess. Yeah. Tavares is a tad overrated. Marner's problem was big game in the playoffs. Yeah, and again, I don't think it was just Marner though. Edgar, Tampa Bay Rays fan. Hope I didn't spoil or ruin it for you. But guys like Austin Matthews didn't show up. Tavares didn't show up either. So Marner was a problem in the postseason. I get that. But I think coming here to Vegas gets him away from that organization. It's a breath of fresh air for him. He could play more freely now. He's got other players around him that are very good. Like I said, with Eichel, getting Mark Stone back. And it's good that, we have a guy like Marner because, without Alex Pietrangelo out, since he was out for the year now, we kind of replaced him a little bit. So that's good. We do lose something defensively without Pietrangelo, but still, he was good. Eichel leaving Buffalo was a fresh air for him in a losing culture. Yeah, it was. I felt bad for Alex Tuch though, because he's the one that got traded for. But Alex Tuch's from Buffalo too, so I guess it's not so bad. And the Lightning are red hot after the 1-4-2 start. Yeah, they're moving up in there. They're definitely moving up. That's good to see. Again, they've been kind of the stalwarts for the past decade in the NHL. So good to see them back. And then Cease signed a 7-year, $10 million deal with the Blue Jays. Yeah. Free agency's hitting fast. Then the Mets, they traded Nemo to the Rangers for Marcus Semien. Not sure if I like that or not. It makes them better defensively, but offensively, I don't know. Doesn't really help. You got to see what they do with the Tarek Skubal. That's going to be interesting. My guess is that he stays with the Tigers for another year. We'll see. Boy, Detroit, they just spend the money. Just spend it, because Scubal's a one of a kind. He could be your next Greg Maddux. Do you really want to lose him? Come on, Detroit, spend some money. No. Would my Dodgers? Would I be mad if the Dodgers went out and signed? Hell no. Just bring him aboard. We sign everybody else. Oh, wait, he has to be Japanese, right? No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. That's an interesting one. Where's Kyle Tucker gonna go? Maybe the Dodgers sign him? No, we'll be fine. We got enough players, but who knows? My Dodgers, they'll sign anybody. Next winter meeting, draft lottery is coming up for MLB, yeah. And also, we got to be aware, Tampa Bay Rays fan, that the collective bargaining agreement ends in 2026. Hopefully, we don't have another issue. We can, don't have to have a strike or anything like that, God forbid. But I think baseball's in a better place now than it was a few years ago. In fact, Netflix got the Home Run Derby, the Field of Dreams game, and the first games of the regular season. So that's good. Peacock's going to get some games as well. So they got the new TV deal. It's like for 3 years. So that's good. Baseball's getting back. And that's great to see. I know Johnny won't like that, but he hates baseball, but I love it. I love that sport. I want it to do well. I want it to thrive. Yeah. Dodgers will sign another Japanese player or a player that wore a Tampa Bay Rays uniform. Yeah. I mean, it is what it is, man. Sorry, Tampa Bay Rays. But we thank you for Andrew Friedman. He's been a gem for us. But it helps you have an owner like Mark Walter, who now owns the Lakers. So and listen, I mean, I know people give us shit, us Dodgers fans shit about signing this guy, signing that. Oh, they sign everybody. It's not fair. Like, well, then do something about it. Sign your own guy. Spend the money. Shit. Spend your money. We do. My Dodgers do. My God. So what? You guys, and this is fun. And baseball doesn't have a salary cap, which it's good and bad. Now, would it be an even playing field if it had a salary cap? Yeah, but I don't think we'll ever see one. Because it would take years to really get that thing developed into a place to where like it gives teams a level playing field. And but the thing is, we've seen like teams like the Washington Nationals like 6 years ago win the World Series. They didn't have a big payroll. So, and that was the year Bryce Harper left. So it gets me that, teams complain. I know it looks bad on paper, but again, spend the money. If your team is complaining about spend, the Dodgers do, they have no problem. I get it. They have their own TV net, Spectrum Sportsnet. I get that. But, it's not just that, but it's our farm system's really good. We got great scouting there. And, we've done it the right way. We've done it within the rules. So, and we've done the Bobby Bonilla contracts with Ohtani and Yamamoto. So we're doing it within the rules. Oh well, Marty, thanks for tuning in, Marty. Ben Cornett looks like Doc from Back to the Future. A little bit. I do a little bit. God bless Michael J. Fox, great actor, and love that movie. I do, and Doc, and Christopher Lloyd, Doc. 1.21 gigawatts. Yeah. Friedman Connection, Gary Hunsicker. Yeah. I don't hate the Dodgers, but I'd rather them spend the money than hearing the Yankees and Red Sox spending over and over. Yeah. And that's the thing too, Edgar. Like, they spend too, but look at the results. No, well, really, the Red Sox don't. I mean, if they did, they wouldn't have traded Mookie Betts, right? You wouldn't have traded Rafael Devers. You had those guys in your system, in your team. Didn't want to spend the money. Like, okay, whatever. But I think the Red Sox, as a Dodger fan, I think them. We got Mookie. Didn't play his best baseball this year, but he'll be back. Yeah. Oh man. Well, guys, I hate to do this, but I am gonna get going here. This has been a lot of fun tonight. I want to thank Tampa Bay Rays fan Johnny Dean, Marty, Devin, if he's still watching. Appreciate everybody watching this tonight. Give me a like, share, and subscribe. I greatly appreciate that. As we keep this thing going, I'll try and keep this thing going more. I'll try to be on live more again. Scheduling issues have been the reason why I haven't been on here lately, but it just felt great to be back tonight on this show, doing what I like to do. Again, I do this because I love to. Whether I get 1 view or 5 views or 10 views or 50 views or no views. Hell, I'll rant here all night. I do appreciate it. This is what I love to do. So talk sports and have a good time here. I'll read one more comment. Difference between the Dodgers and Yankees is they're both spending the money, but the Dodgers have a solid farm system and Yankees farm system is mediocre. That's what I just said a few minutes ago. I had said we got a good system. Our scouting's really good. We draft the right players, develop them correctly, give them time, and it works out. So that's the difference. You hit it on the nail on the head there, Tampa Bay Rays fan. So yeah. Well, guys, appreciate you watching me tonight. Hopefully I can get back on. Maybe I'll try and get back on this weekend. I'll let you know. But I had a lot of fun tonight. Appreciate it. Again, you can find me here on YouTube at Ben Cornett 9015 and on Facebook in the Ben Zone. Give me a like, share, and follow. Really appreciate that. And until next time, take care and happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the States. Enjoy your day tomorrow. Enjoy lots of food, turkey, whatever you guys do. Enjoy your day with family and friends. I know I will. And take care. I'll see you guys next time. Have a great night.